Welcome to this live, bit earlier than normal, but we'll be here for about 30 minutes today. I'm back. For those of you who watch regularly, I had a bit of a techie problem and I solved that short term by using my phone on YouTube. Obviously now, because I'm on Instagram as well, my phone is Instagram, so I'm back on my streaming software. So apologies if there is a bit of lag. Hopefully there won't be too much of a problem there at all. And to help, I'm going to just turn off my browser as well, just to make sure that my processor has as much power going as possible. So if you've not been to one of these lives before, very, very simple. Ask me a question about personal finance, about money. I will do my best to answer it. I will direct you where you need to go in this time. So we've got half an hour, so the earlier you ask a question, the better chance you've got of me answering it. Just type it in the comments and I'll come through to it. If for some reason we run out, we do normally run out of time, so people near the end don't always get a chance to answer their question, do head over to the Facebook group. That's becleverwithyourcash.com/community. That's a short URL that will take you there. That is a great place to ask your question if we don't get through to it today, but that's it. And I've got one favor to ask as well. I always forget to ask this. If while you're watching this, if you watch it all the way through, if you don't mind on YouTube, just make a little note in the comments of the different time codes of the different questions asked. That would be a huge, huge help because I can just cut and paste that into the description. And it means people who watch later on, they can jump straight to the questions and answers that they are most relevant to them. Right, so let's jump in. So what have we got going on over here? Loads of you in already. Fantastic to see you. So Mike says, what do you think of the Tide Bank £75 offer? Is it just opening an account, no credit check, and can anybody do it? So this is actually, Tide is a business bank account, and this is one which I have got to look into a little bit further on the actual terms and conditions of it. Because effectively this is for people who are self-employed, this offer, and in theory, anyone can say they're a sole trader, but I would need to go double check into it that there aren't any sort of terms and conditions around it in terms of proving that you are self-employed, that you do have an additional income coming in. So it doesn't have to be that you don't have a job. You can be a sole trader as well as have a PAYE job. And it could well be that, selling stuff on eBay counts, but I need to sort of look into this a little bit further just to make sure. I don't want to suggest people go and do this and find over they can't get the money or later on there are some kind of issues. Minimad says, evening, hello Minimad. Steve says, hi Andy, what do you think of a new credit card called Yonder? It is £15 a month. Yeah, I've seen this advertised. That's also on my list of things to look into at some point. I'm loath to pay for any kind of credit card unless there is some sort of absolutely fantastic sign-up offer or something that kind of justifies that fee. Most of the time, I think for most people, you don't need to do it. Particularly see these credit building ones. I can't remember if Yonder is one of those credit building ones. You don't need that. Maybe. If you can't get access to anything else, this is the only way to build your credit report up. Maybe, but generally, I'm not a fan of these, particularly for day-to-day spending. But again, it is on the list of things to look for. Let's see some stuff's come through on Insta. Let's come quick look on that. Francis says, good evening. What else have we got going on? Nathan, some regular people in here. Zach. Big Decision says, thoughts on the TSB Spend and Save account? I was thinking of using it as my spending bank account. So the Spend and Save account, what date is it today? It's 23rd of October. We've got a week left in order to take advantage of a switching offer from TSB for this account. It's only running via Money Saving Expert and Money Supermarket, this link, so you have to open the account by then. You've then got another week and a half, maybe, to then make sure the switch goes through. So I wouldn't sort of delay on this. I have got a full details on this over on the blog, so make sure you read that review, that article. Go to becleverwithyourcash.com, go to deals, and then you'll find the TSB one in there, or just search TSB switching offer. That offer I think is pretty good because most of us won't have had a TSB switching deal before. Some people might have done, but most won't, so it's a new bit of extra cash. £125 now, another £55 if you stay with the account and do some bits and pieces. Now those bits and pieces aren't too arduous. Yeah, they're not too difficult to get, but the actual Spend and Save account itself, or the Spend and Save Plus account, in order to get some additional cash back on top of that, another £5 a month for 6 months with the normal one, or ongoing with the Spend and Save Plus, but it does come with a monthly fee. You have to use your, I think it's like 30 debit card transactions every single month for a £5. That is not worth it. Use a cashback card, use a cashback credit card instead, or whatever. Or I've got a video coming out on Wednesday looking at a thing called stoozing, which might be better as well. I don't think it's worth it as your main account for spending, just for that little bit of money back. If you're willing to put the time in to game it to get that money, then that's fine. Then I've got no problem with that. But I wouldn't use it as a main account. There are much, much better ones out there. If you just want a decent account that does all the things you want it to do, look at Starling. It's still my #1 account out there. If you want a high street one, I think that the Halifax and Lloyd's apps are pretty decent as well. And there is also a switching bonus for Lloyd's at the moment and a very, very good regular saver that's just launched. So have a look at those instead. Orla says, hi Andy, can you please advise me as I have no other income, only from savings interest? is the most I can earn £5,000 without having to pay interest on it. So this is something called the start to save thing. So there is, let's check your question, only from savings. So yeah, so you've got a thing called start to save. You have to look at the different, but this is for people who earn less than 12,571. And it does sort of start to, from then starts to reduce, taper down. But you've also got the personal savings allowance, and that is about how much, this is how much interest, how much savings you can have, it's how much interest you can get. So I would go and search for start to save, and that will give you an indication there of what you can do with your income. DL4 says, hi Andy, how many credit cards do you recommend a person should have? Well, that's there's no single answer to that because everybody is different. If you are someone who absolutely knows they are not going to be able to manage their spending using a credit card, then I would say maybe none at all. However, they are useful to help build up your credit score, which can be useful in turn to maybe help you get access to better deals, whether that's reward credit cards later on, or better deals on your mortgage, or just applying for anything that has a credit check. So from that point of view, if you use them sensibly, then just one card and you just use it for a small amount of spending every single month and you pay it off in full every single month. And that wouldn't go any further than that if you're still unsure about things. If you're savvy, or you feel you're savvy and you feel confident with them, then there are a number of different credit cards which can be beneficial. Now I've got obviously cashback credit cards, reward credit cards, and I use them. If I'm not using Chase, I'll be using that to get the best return on my money, particularly when welcome offers come along. That might be a reason to get another credit card to get another welcome bonus and another one. Obviously, there are limits to how many welcome bonuses you can get, but potentially you could keep adding these cards on in order to get those extra bonuses as they come. It might also be worth having a credit card, not an essential one. It might be the same one as one of your others, which you use for fee-free spending overseas. Now, yes, there are great debit cards that do this, but sometimes, particularly like you're maybe hiring a car and they want to take that transaction, that holding money in case there's an accident or something like that, and they need to take some of your money back. If that's a debit card, it will take that money potentially straight out of your account. So you want a credit card, so it's just sort of frozen there and you're not actually taking actual money from. So that's quite handy to have a fee-free one as well for spending overseas. Section 75, you only need one card for that. There's no really any benefits from that. So I'd really say one card is all you need unless you want to get extra welcome bonuses, unless you also need one for spending overseas. There might be other sort of tricks and deals that are worthwhile, but fundamentally that's all you're going to need. Of course, if you are looking at stoozing, which again, whole video coming later this week, you might want to look at getting additional cards for that, but that's a whole nother level of things. Minimass says no glitches yet, so that's good. So hopefully I'm not too jumping around max headroom style like I was a few weeks ago. Celestial Alexia says, hi Andy, no question for me today. Just to thank you for all your content, it's much appreciated. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for sharing that. DL4, I'll come back to you next with some of your questions. John Patrick Fletcher. I'm not going to be able to help you on this one, but we may as well raise it because it's a good one. Where can I find qualified accountants for my business? This is a really hard one. Obviously, I am running a business myself, and I've moved accountants twice, I think. The first one was a recommendation from a friend, and they were perfectly decent. But then when I moved away from London up to Yorkshire, I thought I wanted to have someone who was more local to me. Actually, then the pandemic came along and really who does anything local anymore, it's all remote, so it doesn't really matter. But I chose a firm that were local, and also I was doing my Channel 5 show at the time. So I was trying, I don't think I succeeded in this, but I was trying to maybe find someone who had maybe a bit of an insight, a bit of knowledge into the TV side of things, plus all the things that I do, how the business works for me as a digital creator. But they've all been good, So I think word of mouth is quite good. Maybe a meeting with someone is quite good just to get a feel for them. It does depend about your business. If you can find someone who specializes in your business, that would be a huge help as well. But certainly I would think, ask around, talk around and try and get someone's real opinion, people who have used someone. Again, cost, it's really hard to say what you're paying for. I think maybe right now I'm overpaying slightly for what I'm doing. I probably could get one cheaper, particularly because it's remote. But again, all those things come into play. Let's come back to Insta, because I know you guys can sometimes be a bit neglected. So Louisa says, could a new Prime Minister have any mortgage rates? I think that means to have any impact on mortgage rates, probably. Who knows? So they're saying on Friday we should have a new Prime Minister in place. And that may well mean a new Chancellor as well, and new economic plans. And who knows what that might do just broadly to everything and anything. It's so much uncertainty right now, isn't it? It's ridiculous. So I would say there could well be an impact, positive or negative. What obviously does happen though is it's not the only thing that's going on. We're already in a cost of living crisis, already looking at interest rates going up, which will have an impact. So it may well be things come down a little bit, may things go up a little bit if interest rates go up again. So it's really hard to say. But yeah, the uncertainty is not fantastic, is it? Tom says, are you aware of any non-Amex cashback credit cards to use when Amex is not accepted? Yeah, so over on the blog, I have got a Best Buy guide to cashback cards, both credit and debit cards, and the non-Amex alternatives. The best paying one is the Chase debit card. So it's not a credit card, obviously, but the Chase debit card, you get 1% for 12 months. Or you could look at the Barclaycard Avios credit card. There's two versions. There's a plus, which is paid for, or there's a free one. And basically the way they work, I look at the free one for this. If you're happy to swap your Avios points into Nectar points, so therefore you can only use the money you earn at Sainsbury's, eBay, Argos, really, there are a few other places, but that's really where you're going to redeem them, then it works out the equivalent of 0.8% back. And that's pretty decent you can't beat that for a non-Amex card. After that, you're going down to really 0.25% as the best you're going to get. There are a Lloyds and Halifax cashback cards, which do boost you up to 0.5% after a while, but you have to spend so much money. If you've got a better paying Amex, I don't think you're realistically going to spend that much money on a non-Amex in order to get to that level. So I'm not a fan of those. And there's also a NatWest one, which might give you 1% back at supermarkets, but all supermarkets take Amex. So again, there's no point for that. So I would be looking at those cards. But again, check out on the blog, in the Best Buy section, you look at that, there'll be best cashback credit and debit cards on there. Daniel says, I'm looking to open either Monzo or Starling account. Which would you recommend? Starling, for me, Starling wins over Monzo, but they are both free. So why not open them up? As long as you don't apply for an overdraft, there is no hard credit search, so it won't impact you at all. Open them up, play around with them, see which interface you like the best, and then stick with that one. And then you've got another account left over, a dummy account that you can use to switch for a switching offer elsewhere. Also with Monzo, there is a refer a friend £5 offer. So if you've got a mate with Monzo, ask them if they'll give you their link. If not, there is one on the website, but obviously I much prefer you get one from your mate instead, because they'll get a £5 as well. I won't get that £5. But yeah, so that was my take on it. Try them both out. Abdallah says, hi, how are you? I'm very good, thank you very much. Christopher says, hello. How are you on time? Okay, plenty of time, yeah. So Andrew says, I have taken advantage of the Barclays Rainy Day Saver and the Club Lloyds Monthly Saver. Thought it was worth it, as had the current accounts already, and the Santander e-saver for an emergency pot. Yeah, that feels like a really good package of getting high interest rates right now. There's also the NatWest or RBS regular saver, 5.12%. So you could potentially right now be getting close to 5% on a lump sum up to 5k, and then smaller amounts if you're saving every month, you're adding to it, decent amounts there. Obviously, regular savers don't work in the same way as normal savings accounts, so it says that 5% rate or whatever it is, 4.5, 5.25, whatever it might be, but obviously you're not putting the full amount in every month. I have got a whole video and article explaining regular savers, because people do get confused about this, understandably so. They think, well, if I'm putting this money in, I should get 5%. But you've got to remember, you're putting it in month by month by month. So the last month, it's only for 1 month rather than 12. But again, check out that video and article which explains more before you open those accounts. But I definitely would recommend either using them for new money or for filtering money across. TK the Creator says, what do you think of having multiple credit cards? I actually kind of answered that briefly earlier on with someone else. If you missed that, do listen back. 1F around here says, my oldest financial account is a Barclaycard, but it's got a low credit limit. How do I push it, as they have only increased it to 400 last times? So this is an interesting one. Longevity on accounts, I've talked about this in lives before, can be really useful for your credit rating, for your credit report. So getting rid of an old account isn't always the best thing to do, particularly if it's got a relatively low credit limit. I would say that if you are not that worried about Barclaycard, actually use them, and there are, obviously I talk about that Avios one with earning points there, which is pretty good, and there's a fee-free one, which is not bad, but otherwise, it's not necessarily a great card. Go on to an eligibility checker. MoneySaving Experts Credit Club's quite good for this. They don't show whole of market, they only show the cards that they get paid for, but that's a large selection of them. And it will tell you your chances of getting accepted on a number of different cards. Have a look what's available there. Again, no guarantee on the credit limit, but it gives you kind of different options there. And again, focus on those reward cards would be my suggestion there. James says, hi Andy, I've got a couple of grand in NSNI. My question is, what is the process of withdrawing it from there? Should I need to? Is there a waiting period? So a couple of things here, James. A couple of grand, realistically, in just an NSNI. I assume you mean premium bonds. If you don't mean premium bonds, just a normal savings account, get rid of that, because you can get a much, much better rate elsewhere. If you do mean premium bonds, check out some of my videos I've got about those, because the way it works is, unless you've got a hefty amount of money in there, you're very, very, very unlikely to win anything close to the prize rate, currently 2.2%. And if you've got smaller amounts, and we're talking about a couple of grand is effectively counts as a small amount in this example, you might not win anything at all, which means your rate won't even be 2.2%, it'd be a lot less. And when we're talking about regular savers paying 5.25% and easy access accounts now at 2.81%, I don't see really much point in premium bonds right now, particularly for lower amounts. People maybe with large amounts of savings want to avoid the sort of tax-free element that might be close to their personal savings allowance. So that's what I say is actually don't wait till money, just take your money out right now. If you did want to keep it in there, premium bonds are relatively easy access. It might take a couple of days, 2 or 3 days for that money to come out, might be faster. But yeah, if you need it in an emergency, then I need that money today, then absolutely I wouldn't be using it here. I would put it in a pure, proper, easy access account, and you'll get a better interest rate as well. Minimad says, having moved my premium bond money into a savings account to earn money, would you recommend notice accounts as part of your 3 to 6 months essentials? That's a really good question, actually. Maybe something I should talk about at some point. I would always go, obviously, for the best rate. And right now, some of the shorter notice period accounts, 30 days, 7 days, broadly, they can be beaten by easy access accounts. When you go on to 90 and 120 days, so 3 month, 4 month notice periods, then those ones, maybe they can beat some of the best normal easy access accounts. Not the special ones I mentioned before, but kind of the normal standard, the 2.8, around 2.5% ones. So yeah, potentially a notice account, you put your money in and you won't be able to get it out and the interest until you give that notice. And normally that could be a nice way of maybe boosting your money a little bit, because if there is an emergency where you think, I can't work for 6 months, I need that money, you know what's going to happen. You can give that notice straight away. The money you already have in the easy access is one part, the next part in notice, you get to it later. Okay, makes sense. But we're still expecting loads of interest rate increases, aren't we? And particularly next week, there might be potentially a really, really hefty one. We'll wait and see what happens. You never know, but it could be even larger than we've seen so far this year. And if that happens, eventually the other rates will also start to follow. Yes, some of them are pricing it in already, maybe while they can get to the top of the table because they're anticipating this, but others will follow. And there isn't much of a difference, I don't think, between the best notice accounts and the best easy access accounts. So right now, I wouldn't bother with a notice account based on where we are, because there's so much fluctuation, so much change. In more stable times, if we get to those, maybe one day we will, then maybe this can be a good strategy to go from some proper easy access, some of it in notice accounts. Mark says, hi Andy, I'm currently switching to Nationwide, but also thinking about opening a Barclays account to take advantage of the 5.12 interest. How do I move direct debits? Is it easy as phoning them to switch the two direct debits? So direct debits are, well, you've got a few ways to switch. Obviously, a full switch account using the current account switching service, that will move all your direct debits over as part of the switch. And if you're looking at the Nationwide one, if you're currently doing it, I assume that means you're already in process and you've already got that sorted, so that will move across as well. If you're opening up a new account, a brand new account, it's a new Barclays account, and that does require the Blue Rewards 2 direct debits to claim a £5 reward, which then counteracts the £5 monthly fee. It's a stupid way of doing it, right? They hope you mess up, I guess, but effectively you pay £5 and you get a £5 reward, which wipes out. Anyway, you can, yeah, absolutely contact the provider. Sometimes you can do it online. Sometimes you will have to phone the provider and they will move those over. You could also potentially, with some banks, look at something called a partial switch. So this doesn't use the current account switching service, and not all banks will allow this. For example, Starling doesn't allow it, or it didn't when I tried to do it a few years ago. And this is where you say, I want to switch over just these things from this account to this account. And it can move over a number of things if you wanted to. Again, it feels like a bit of a faff just for 2 direct debits, but that is something you could consider. Or the other option is you can set up some new direct debits. I've got a whole video, a whole article. The article I've just updated actually on the blog. The video is about a year and a half old, so some of the examples might be a little bit out of date, but I've updated it on the blog. These are ones you can set up, new direct debits, where the money is paid to you, just to a different savings account or something else you buy, a hack using your credit card to pay for Spotify, for example, those kind of things. So it may well be you can just set up new direct debits that way, or move those direct debits over in the online accounts. Carl says, do you think other products from NS&I will increase their rates soon, like premium bonds? It's hard to say. You'd imagine if there's even more rates. NS&I have got this weird thing, like all banks do, I suppose. They want your money, but they also don't want too much of it. So they kind of have to balance. They have a look at well, if everyone starts taking their money away, which people were doing when the rate was very low and you had that Chase account and now all the other stuff coming along, even better than that. People take their money out, so they go, right, we need to increase our rates to bring people back in. But then they don't necessarily want to bring too many people back in because then it gets too expensive for them. So it's kind of a real kind of up and down here. It's hard to say. So if they are feeling that they are at a level where they are absolutely got enough money there to support what they need to do, these government sort of investing essentially, they won't. If they're a bit short, then they may increase one of the products here or there, or a whole raft of them. But at the moment, they're not ones worth considering. But again, they could change next week. Who knows? That's why I do this update every single month on the channel, looking at the best savings accounts, and every single day on the blog, becleveryourcash.com/savings. That is my best by tables. I check it normally once in the morning, once in the evening, but sometimes if I spot something in the day, I'll update it during the day as well. And this is, the best fixes, easy access, regular savings, all that kind of thing. So that one, you can check that. Whenever you want to check, have a look at that page, and that will give you like all the details you need at a glance, and then my analysis once a month here on the channel. What else we got going on here? Genevieve says, best ISAs for an adult. If you're talking about cash ISAs, the best paying easy access one right now is paying 2.25%, which is a fair bit off what you're going to get on normal savings accounts. But that's, if you're a 40% taxpayer, that actually might level out. That might be pretty decent. If you're looking at fixes, they can be a bit better again, but still well off what you're going to get with the normal accounts. So again, this is really about, I think the cash ISAs really are for you if you're aware that you are going to go over your personal savings allowance. If you don't know about personal savings allowance, again, there is our article on the blog and a video about that on YouTube explaining about tax on savings, whether you need it or not. Because most of us can earn £1,000 tax-free or maybe £500 tax-free in interest every single year. So we don't really need ISAs. If you talk about investing, Sally, that's not one of the things I kind of specialize in, but again, have a look at the fees, look at the things you're allowed to sort of invest in, and make that decision that way. Saranch says, hi Andy, are there any offers for opening new easy access accounts rather than switching? So important thing here, an easy access account, that is a savings account, is different to a current account. So when we talk about switching offers, physically you switch from one bank to another and you get some money. Those are current accounts. And yes, some of the current accounts do offer interest, but that is a very different thing. Savings accounts, when you open them up, I get asked this question quite a lot, is there going to be a credit check for me doing this? No, savings accounts are just savings accounts, and there are no offers in terms of switching your money over. However, there is the only kind of offer I can think of in terms of opening a new savings account is from a marketplace called Raisin. They have a number of accounts in there. Sometimes they're top of the table, sometimes they're middle of the table, sometimes they're not in the top best by tables. Depends what account you're after. I think right now their best 1 year fix they're offering is 4.5%, I think, which is actually pretty decent. It's for 1 year. And I think they've got a 3% 6-month fix. Not 100% sure on this. Basically, the offer they give is if you go via either a refer a friend link, or I've got a special link on my site as well. If you invest £10,000 for 6 months, so that could be a 6-month fix, it could be an easy access, but for 6 months, a notice account, whatever it be, or a year, obviously that's longer than 6 months, but a minimum of 6 months, they'll give you a £30 bonus. So that's a nice little bit extra. There was a sort of occasionally that is increased from time to time, but that's the only one I can think of, which is giving you an incentive to open a new savings account rather than a current account. Stephen says, hi Andy, I'm looking to use Flagstone to spread a few fixed rates accounts. Any views on the business? I noticed they have a 0.25% annual management fee. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice they had a fee for that. That's obviously one to avoid unless their rates are well above that. Again, Flagstone, they're very similar to Raisin. Hargreaves Lansdown do a similar thing where it's like, look, we're offering some exclusive rates you can only get with us. Sometimes rates you can get elsewhere as well. But Flagstone, I've seen them sort of, they're probably absolutely fine. I've not used them myself. I have used Raisin, that was fine. I've not used Flagstone. But yeah, that annual fee is an interesting one, certainly. Harry says, how do I work out when best to use my cash ISA? I'm currently receiving £7,000 in interest. Is there a formula I can use to calculate the trade-offs, pros and cons? So really it's about, again, I won't touch on it a moment ago, so I won't get into full detail. I have got a whole article and video about tax on savings. Watch that. But your personal savings allowance is based on your taxable rate. So if you're a basic rate taxpayer, so you earn less than £50,271 a year, you can earn £1,000 of interest tax-free outside of an ISA. So we'll basically work out what the best rates you can get. So for example, if you did open the Barclays Blue Rewards Rainy Day Saver at 5.12% and you had the full £5,000 in there, over a year you would get 256 quid. So that's already a quarter of your personal savings allowance gone on 5k. Now, for most people, they're not going to go more than that. A 5k is a huge amount of money to have anyway. But if you are then taking advantage of regular savers and other accounts here, there and everywhere, So work it out. You basically got to go, how much money have I got in those accounts at those rates? When do I get £1,000? Then above £1,000, then it's worth, actually, do I want an ISA, or am I willing to pay the tax? Am I going to get better rates elsewhere, even if you deduct the tax from what I get? Again, check out the whole video. I've explained this in a bit more detail there. Should say if you earn more than 50,271 and you're a high rate taxpayer, then you get a £500 personal savings allowance. A lot easier for people to get into that with the rates where they are right now if you have large amounts of savings. How are we doing? Oh my goodness, I've only got 5 minutes. Got loads to do. Okay, sorry, I might just do all of these ones. Let's have a quick look. Steve talks about shifting ISAs. Very quickly note on here, make sure you transfer the ISA. We don't take your money out of an ISA and then pay it into an ISA. You use something called a transfer where the banks move the money themselves, because that doesn't mess with your annual allowance of £20,000 every year. Okay, so that's really important you do that. What else we've got going on? Thanks you guys. I really appreciate all you coming in. As I said at the beginning, head to becloveryourcash.com/community. That is the Facebook group. If I haven't answered your question now, ask the question there. And if I can't answer it, because there are obviously so many questions, I can't answer all of them, but there are about 2,500 people now in there. I'm sure a lot of you there as well. Knowing the answers as well, it could provide that information. So that is a great place to go. Let me just quickly pop back here on Insta, just check I've not missed any of you extra ones. Big Decision says, would I be best off having multiple accounts with Starling, as it seems to be the best bank, than having multiple accounts with different banks? Sadly not, because you can't have multiple accounts with Starling. You can just have the one. So you will have to have multiple accounts with different banks. And there are benefits to having multiple accounts with different banks, mainly because if one of them goes down, as we saw recently with Chase and earlier in the year with Nationwide and a few years ago with TSB, and Virgin have had issues as well. But most of the banks have had issues at some point. You've got access to some money in another account. So again, whole article and video talking about that. So do have a look at that one. Tom says, are fixed rate savings likely to decrease in the new year? Is now the time to lock an interest rate? It's impossible to say. It's really hard to say. Obviously, they are, when fixed rates are put into place, they are anticipating where rates might go, and they want to be competitive. And that is why there's a lot on first 1 years, but the other ones aren't such a big jump between the other sort of long fixes. It's really impossible to say. Really hard to say. So I think you've just got to make a call about, am I happy with this as a return? Maybe on some of your money, maybe hedge it. So some of it is fixed and some of it is easy access. You've got then to fix that later on. Maximilian says, does the national insurance rate drop by 1.25% still take place from next month now the Chancellor will change? So I did a video on Monday about the U-turns, the latest U-turns, which basically ripped up the mini budget from 3 weeks ago. So Jeremy Hunt said, this is what we're doing now. Some things are saying, some things are going. There may well be a new Chancellor, depends who's PM. They might want Jeremy Hunt to stay in that role. They might want someone else to go in as Chancellor, and they might have obviously their own views on what they might do. But fundamentally, this national insurance cut of 1.25 percentage points starting next month is still happening. So you will see a very, 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 very slight difference to your pay packet next month. Not a huge amount, really. Obviously, unless you really earn a lot of money, you'll make more. But if you're a lower earner, it's not going to make too much difference. But yes, that is still happening. Obviously, new chancellors can change things at any time, but I don't think they'll be changing it this quickly, that particular one. I think that one's probably here to stay for a while. Who knows, maybe in the spring, next time we have full budget, things could change again, but that's where we are on that. Harry says, Lloyds have a 4.1% 1 year bond. Is this the best in the market? And will these be offered higher if the bank rate goes up November, December? You can beat 4.1% on a best spot on a 1 year fix right now. becloveryourcash.com/savings. That will give you the best ones right now. So have a look there, see what other options you've got. Oh, this is good. So very quick one. Biffkin UK. Hi Andy, not a question, but I thought I'd let you know that my 200 nationwide switching bonus for transferring 2 non-active direct debits. They were set up and the money was never taken. That's really interesting because they told me the money had to come out. That's what I've been saying to you guys. And in theory, that's the truth. But if it worked there, it does mean that maybe they won't. However, I talked about the article earlier on, which talks about some quick direct debits you can set up and they get active within a few days. I'd still do that. I get that just to be absolutely 100% safe, but that's really interesting if that is the case. So some people who sometimes miss it and don't realize that, they'll still get the money, hopefully, fingers crossed. Right, guys, I think we've really run out of time now. I'm so sorry. There's loads of really good questions there, I'm sure. I will do another one of these a couple of weeks. I'll let you know on the newsletter. So becloveryourcash.com/newsletter. Comes out every single Thursday. Best of the blog, best of the YouTube, best of the podcast, best of the deals. And also that's why I say, look, The next live is tonight, or it's Sunday, or next Tuesday. So that's a really good way to get that heads up, just so you don't miss it next time. Again, get in early with those questions, or head over to the community. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the evening, and we will speak again very, very soon. Cheers.